So for the representatives from Tanzania, from the schools of St Jude, while you may not be able to see the screen, we have very traditional values in our school. And I like to describe that these traditional values are the opportunity for us to consider the traditions and also consider the innovations that are possible. So within the concept of the whole person, we do at Woolooware High School like to take the opportunities to offer experiences well beyond our classroom. We like to consider what we can do to seriously make a difference in our school, in our community, and in our world. And it's a really important moment for us to consider. We have the privilege every day. I would like to see everyone's eyes, please. We have the privilege every day of being able to come to a school, and not everyone in the world has that opportunity. So what I would like to do is just to make sure you're aware of what we do at Woolooware to support the School of St Jude's. So we have a long-standing tradition at this school. Well before I arrived, there was this conversation and dedicated service to sponsoring students in the School of St Jude's. Our current sponsored person is Adolfo. You can see him on the screen, you can see his bio, and this is a fairly recent change, because we have over the years worked with and raised money and held a whole range of events to really consider what we can do to support Philemon and Jennifer. And we've been having a conversation with Enoch on the stage. And it feels like, although I've only been here for 5 years, it feels like I know Philemon. It feels like I'm seriously invested in his future. So he's recently graduated from university. And what I would like to say to Woolooware High School is thank you for the contributions you make to make sure that we as a school are making a difference. There's also a photo of Jennifer there, who's received awards for massive improvement in her academic achievement. But I also wanted to point out that these students are part of a graduating class. We're a small part in a really big journey, but today, it's really not about me. It's about listening to the representatives from the School of St Jude's. And as such, I would like to invite Mr. Ryan to the stage. Thanks, everyone.
So, in that, I just want to make a small little message about when we host fundraising events. Sometimes it's very difficult to put faces to the names, and we actually have more than one face today. We actually have a student here as well of St Jude's who has benefited from fundraising, not specifically from our school, but from somewhere in the world, from someone saying, look, I've got some spare change. And it's really important to understand that as a collective, we are really powerful. And sometimes it's not so easy to understand that, oh, I'm just myself, what difference am I going to make? Look at all the people around this room, right? If we all put $1, $2, $3, whatever it might be, the difference that you can make is immense as a collective, right? Because we are part of a pod, right? So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Gemma, who is the founder of the School of St Jude's. Gemma.
A lot of people have asked me how did it all start and where did it all begin. So I'm from up near Armidale and grew up in New South Wales. When I was at university, I met a lady who needed some math science teachers at her school. I went over to Africa and really haven't left. So I've been living in Africa for the last 25 years. With the school, we started off with a little piece of land, and this is the picture of the land. I then did some fundraising back in Armidale. So how did I do this? I went back to Armidale, asked my family and friends if they could help me start fundraising for a school. And I got my first donation from a school friend of mine called Agnes. She gave me $10. I took the $10 down to the Commonwealth Bank, and then I started fundraising. Then a group of friends said that they would come over to Tanzania to build the first classrooms. This is a picture of them building. And then eventually we had 2 classroom blocks to start the school. Finally, in 2002, the school was ready for opening. This picture here is a picture of the total school enrollment that we had on the first day. So we had a lot of students, 3. So these are the 3 kids that we started the school off with. But we didn't give up. Since then, we've been fundraising, and your wonderful school has been giving us money for our growth of St. Jude's, of the sponsorship of Filament, for about 16 years. All of that money has come across to Tanzania so we can build more classrooms, more boarding houses, employ more staff, and eventually enrol more students. So Philemon, who you've been supporting for 16 years, is now finished university, so you've helped him all the way from primary, all the way to the end of university. He actually lives next to Enoch. They're living on the same street, but I'll introduce Enoch in a minute. You are now supporting more students, 2 more students, Adolfo and Jennifer. And so you have been a part of the change over the years from students who aren't in school to be in school. So thank you for taking on Jennifer and Adolfo, and I hope that they will get to the same place where Philemon got to. So, what does St. Jude's look like today? So currently we have 1,800 students on scholarship. So we are a private school in Tanzania, but 100% of our students are on scholarship. So we don't charge school fees or we don't get any government support. These 1,800 students are across 3 schools. So the first school is our primary school that has capacity for around 700 day students. A couple of years ago, we opened a girls' secondary school. This goes up to year 10, and that has capacity for 600 boarders. So all of our secondary students are in boarding. This is where the girls stay. That's the boarding houses. Then, quite close to Kilimanjaro International Airport, that you're all going to fly into one day, is our big secondary school that has capacity for 1,000 boarders. That has a boys' school up to year 10, and then co-ed for year 11 and 12. Each of our schools has a Tanzanian leadership team. If you'd visited us 10 years ago, you would have seen a lot of expats, a lot of Aussie teachers helping me. But I'm very proud that today, each of our schools, we do not have any Westerner working in any of our schools. We have a student government and a Tanzanian leadership team. And the student government and the Tanzanian leadership team oversee everything on their campus, from all the classrooms and extracurricular activities like your art, music, PE, to all the boarding. All up, 1,400 children are in boarding, and that is all managed by those student and staff leaders. We don't have any public transport in Tanzania, so we have to have our own bus fleet. So we've got 30 school buses that bring everybody to and from school. We cook over 1 million hot meals a year, so there's 3 dining halls. So children get a lot of things at St. Jude's, thanks to people like you who have been having our backs for many years. But it's not just the students who benefit. You can imagine all the men and women, for example, who are pedaling away on their pedals, sewing machines, making all the uniforms for the children to wear, to all the hundreds of families who are growing the thousands of tons of tomatoes and cabbages and maize and rice that go into the 1 million hot meals that we provide each year. This year, our fundraising budget is over $8 million US. That's how much we have to raise. And to think that all of that goes into our local community, you can imagine the hundreds and hundreds of people that feed off that, St. Jude's machine. Even our staff. So currently we have 350 staff across our schools. 98% of them are Tanzanian. Each of them, on average, support 5 family members. So even just by your sponsorship of Philemon, Adolfo and Jennifer, you are helping 350 staff and 5 other people in their families. So whilst we are enrolling students, we're also finally kicking them out. So how many kids did we start the school with, everybody? 3. That group finally reached year 12 in 2015. Thankfully, there were more than 3 of them by the time they got to year 12. There was about 60 of them. Since then, we've been graduating year 12s every year, but because of the new girls' secondary school that started a couple of years ago, we've now doubled the output. So last year, for example, we graduated 103 year 12s. This year, 1 week ago, we graduated 210. So this is a photo of our most recent graduates who only graduated a week ago. After our students or graduate from year 12, we have a community service here. And this is what Philemon did when he finished school. So the community service here is like a gap year. It's a year where our year 12s can give back in thanks for the free education that good people like you had given them over the years. So they go and work in a government school. In Tanzania, our government schools don't have very many teachers. They don't have many resources, especially science teachers. So they all go off, the students, to work in government schools. Where are the year 12s here? Can you put your hands up? Okay, so guys, if you were in Tanzania, after your national exams or your HSC, you'd go home and rest for a couple of weeks, and then you come back into St. Jude's for a 2-week teaching course on how to teach a class, where we teach you how to write a lesson plan, logbook, scheme of work, and then we give you class sets of textbooks and boxes of chalk, and then we kick you out to a government school for a year. So the year 12s from St. Jude's who graduated last year are currently teaching in 41 secondary schools. Philemon did this, and when Adolpha and Jennifer get to this age, they'll probably do it as well. So they are currently teaching between them all over 13,000 students. After the gap year, our students then go off to university. So St. Jude's also supports university students, and you have been supporting Philemon at university, and he's actually finished. Currently, St. Jude's is financially supporting, thanks to all the sponsors, 350 students across 49 universities within Africa and outside of Africa. The class that I started the school with, who reached year 12 back in 2015, then went into their community service here and started university. We then started getting university graduates out in 2019, and this is a picture of some of our inaugural graduates coming out in 2019. Since 2019, over 300, including Philemon, St. Jude's alumni have graduated from university, including just a year ago, our first crop of doctors from the first year 12 class. So of course, we've got doctors and engineers and architects, everyone coming out every year, but there's nothing like your first crop of teachers or your first crop of tradesmen. This is our first crop of doctors. So from our inaugural year 12 class, we now have 8 doctors who are working in hospitals. And it was nice because a couple of weeks ago, my mother-in-law had an asthma attack, and my husband and I had to take her to the hospital. We get to the emergency, and who's standing there? It's Dr. Hosianna, who was one of the first kids I ever enrolled in St. Jude's, and she's now an emergency doctor. So it was just wonderful to see our alumni there. I'd now like to introduce to you one of Hosianna's classmates, Enoch, who is one of our inaugural Year 12 graduates, and he is sponsored by a family in country Victoria. So Enoch, you're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, so just a bit about myself. This is my family 20 years ago when I joined St. Jude's. I had 2 siblings, and little did I know I was going to get 4 more little brothers and sisters. So this is how my family looks like today. Before getting a scholarship to St. Jude's, I was in grade 2 in a government school like this. But then, my life changed when I joined St. Jude's. And my first surprise was getting first set of proper school shoes and school uniforms. But there was more. I got to have my own desk and chair for the first time. I got to see and use a computer. We also had 3 meals when I joined boarding school. It was also nice that the school recognized my extracurricular and academic achievements. So that's my father. And he actually keeps all my 56 certificates in his safe box. Finally, I graduated high school in 2015, and I was honored to be part of the first graduating class. It was also nice that my sponsors flew all the way from Australia to join me in my graduation. In thanks for the free education, I took a gap year of community service, and I worked at the visitor's office. I barely stayed that year. We had over 1,000 visitors. So through the school, I secured a full scholarship to study financial economics and business at the University of Rochester in New York. 4 years later, May 2021, I graduated college and decided to come back to Tanzania to support my family and my community. So, what am I doing now? Of course, I came back to St. Jude's, and I now work in the alumni department, helping other students secure international scholarships. My dream is to build a very strong alumni association that brings serious change to the school, our local community, Tanzania, and Africa as a whole. For more than 20 years, Gemma has been carrying the burden running the school. But now, we alumni have already started taking the burden from her. As we speak, over 150 alumni contribute financially to the school every month. And more than 100 contribute their time to support the school different activities so far this year. Just one of many examples, Alex. So Alex was my classmate. He joined St. Jude's 20 years ago, and we both graduated in 2015. He then secured a scholarship to study bioengineering at Stanford University. He went on to graduate and came back to Tanzania to make a difference. 8 years ago, when Alex graduated high school, he started sponsoring the Little Abbey, who, thanks to Alex, the Big Abbey is now in secondary school. Alex, Philemon, and I have completed our academic journeys, just like 1,000 other alumni. And I'm standing here to say a huge thank you for supporting the school, as I'm excited to see our little brothers and sisters also getting this opportunity. You supporting Jennifer and Adolphe means a lot in their lives, their families, their communities. And as Gemma said, Philemon lives next door. So in 2012, we moved to a new place. And I remember one morning, I stepped out of the house, and here's Philemon. So he asked, "Bro, what are you doing in my street?" And I told him, "Yeah, I just moved in." So we became very close. Like, he would show me around the place. But I knew Philemon from school. He loved singing, and he loves music. But also, he belonged into what is my best traditional dance group. They call themselves the African Rockers. They're like the best group. So thank you for having us. And I have a little present. So we have 5 books that Maddie at the back wrote about the school. So these books were donated by Eric. So Eric was the class behind me, class of 2016. Eric was a real hustler. Back in primary school, he used to be very tiny. And we both played for the school team, but he always wanted to be a referee, which was very odd. Like, who just wants to be a referee? So he persisted, and he graduated high school, got a scholarship to Mauritius, African Leadership University. He gets there, and he's still a referee in like the local leagues in the street. He then secures a master's scholarship to the UK, and he's now a professional referee in the English Soccer League. So when he heard that we are coming to Australia, he reached out to Gemma, and he says, "I'd like to donate a few books as you go on your promotional tour. So these books are for your library." Again, thank you for your time, and thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone. We have asked the girls to respond. It's meant a lot for us to hear this story, and I just wanted the girls to provide a little bit of feedback to our incredible international guests. Thank you, girls.
So Grace and I haven't been in charge of this part of the SRC for very long, but it's been a wonderful experience to have you so much. And you, Maddie, as well, wherever she's gone. It's been lovely, and thank you so much to tell us about your foundation. I think it holds a very powerful message about fighting poverty through education, something that we take for granted, having it here, having it everywhere in Australia, and I think it's a very important cause, and I'm very thankful to have you.
Thank you, Woolooware High School, for your support and for the respect you have shown today.